myself, no, like you came in here with the expectation of just learning and being among people who can teach you things, you know? And so it's just a really good reminder talking to you. It's like, right, like I can just, and like, and then I'm happy, you know, I'm a fish in water, because just literally every day is just an opportunity to learn, you know?
Yeah. I feel like you have to find the right balance between like setting goals and also enjoying the journey. Because I feel like I'm realizing that my goals have maybe been too modest, and I feel like that's maybe held me back a little bit as like a music producer, or just like finding success, you know? Because like in my mind, it's like, okay, cool. If I can sustain my family and work in music, which I love, like that's good. Like that's what I want. But maybe that's too modest, and I'm not actually getting to enough, you know, of even enough sustainability, really, because I'm not pushing harder. It's like, you know, like the concept of like aim for the stars, you get to the moon, you know, kind of thing. And I'm realizing that maybe it's important to aim a little higher, and then you'll get a little bit further. But on the other hand, you have to enjoy the journey, and it's not really just about the goals. Like goals are just like, it's just like a, you know, motivator or a thing that kind of puts you on a path, you know?
Yeah.
And enjoying the journey is maybe the most important thing. So I don't know. I feel like it's like it's like the yin and the yang, you know?
Yeah.
Finding.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have a little bit of a different perspective on that. Sort of again, from a spiritual perspective, is I'm in a few different 12-step programs. But one of the programs that I'm in is around like career stuff, right? And so
cool.
What 12-step programs are, it's just like, how do you bring like a spiritual attitude towards, you know, you can bring a spiritual attitude towards like life or relationships or career, right? So I think that the thing that I've been trying to do, and my sponsor always tells me, she's like, anything you go into with a result in mind is self-will. It's not God's will. And that's, I think it can be a little bit extreme because, right, in our society, we're sort of like, oh, there has to be a goal, right? We're going towards something. And this is like, it's not really, I mean, I know there has to be like a middle ground, but I kind of feel like, okay, how do I live my life just listening? And again, like I'm not able to do this at all. Like my ego every day from the moment I wake up, it's like, oh my God, how do we show everybody that we're better than them today? Like that's my default mode, is like go into things and just be like, how do we show, right? But it's just like, okay, if I just brought it back to, I have no result in mind. I am just here, just kind of sensing what the next thing that I have to do is, and just sensing how I can be of service, right? And like, I'm just here to be of service, and whatever result comes from that is okay. And then again, I know it must be so different when you have kids, right? And you have a family, and I'm not in that boat yet. Like I hope I'm going towards that boat. But I don't know. That's just something I've been experimenting with. And I don't know how realistic that is, but that's just something I'm like, oh, okay, let's see if I can experiment with that a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's so cool. I feel like, I mean, I know it's like an important part of like any 12-step program is 12-step program is accepting a higher entity than yourself, right? Like, I feel like that's like, from what I understand, that's
yeah, and it can be anything.
That's like the basic of it. Yeah,
yeah, it could be the doorknob. People are like, it's so funny. Like I'll listen to these speeches and
like atheists at 12-step programs.
Yeah, or not, and not. It's like, it's like one of the things, and then we'll go back to talking about music. But one of the things they say in 12 steps, they say literally, you're here because a doorknob could run your life better than you can. You know, so if you want to, like,
whatever it takes.
Yeah, like if you don't want a god, if you don't want an old man or a pie in the sky or a female goddess or like a snake, or you just take a doorknob. And I was like, actually one of the first meetings I went to, they were like, just you know, if you're nervous about this meeting today, just give it up, surrender it to the doorknob. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to surrender it to the doorknob. And like, oh, everything went better when the doorknob was in charge. Like literally, the doorknob has got it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I want to take this podcast to the theological side, but like, it is a conflict. It's like, even in moments of doubt of a higher entity, it's like the other side kind of seems like nihilism and emptiness. So it's like, it's I don't know. I feel like a lot of these things are dualisms and trying to figure out where
I think it's all. I heard something recently that I found very interesting about atheism, where they were like, atheism is also a religion. Like you are believing that nothing is there. I've heard that also. So it's just like, and I feel like this, sometimes I wake up and I'm just like, man, if just somebody could tell me what to believe in, how to get this life right. If somebody had the answers, right? And that's why cults are so enticing, because it's like, it's somebody that has the answers. I don't need to live in doubt. I don't need to think for myself. I don't need to have the possibility of having lived life wrong or having believed the wrong shit for my whole life, right? But that's the thing about life.
That's the point, right?
That's the whole point, is you've just got to figure out for yourself what works for you, and then accept that everybody else is going to have a different opinion about that. And what works for you and what you believe in, like, other people are going to be like, that's fucking bullshit. And that's awful that you believe in that, and just accept that, and there's things that they believe in that you're going to be like, oh, that's awful that, but it's just like, and that's what's scary about life. You're like, I don't know. Am I on the wrong path? Am I on the right path? Right. Am I? All right.
And there's no way to know. Nobody has an answer. No. Just have to wade through those murky waters,
Yeah. And live in the experience of just figuring it out. And no matter what everybody else looks like, everybody else is just as scared and confused as I am. I mean, I don't know. I'm slightly more scared and confused, I think, than most people, but
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the things that we think we're in our head, we think we're weird and we're messed up. So many people are going through the same thing, and we're all just humans dealing with this experience. And so many people are dealing with what you're dealing with, even if you have no idea and you think you're alone, and like, these are only my issues. Like, so many other people have those issues. I think that's like an important thing to think about.
Yeah. And I think the great thing about, and we'll start talking about music about it, but I think like you have a platform, right? So you have the power to talk about things and to bring on guests that will also talk about, okay, like, what's bringing shame to me? Right? What's this thing inside of me? Like, I can say I'm an addict, right? That's something that I would be like ashamed of, right? But like, then like bringing it to light and like saying like, hey, that's okay I have a brain that functions this way. Like, that's okay,
Yeah. And there's so many people that are addicts and have been through this, and even like armchair expert like Dax Shepard is like, okay, I am no longer however many years sober. Now I'm only this many days. Like, I remember when that was. I stopped listening to him when he moved over to Spotify, because I don't listen to podcasts on Spotify. So when people become Spotify exclusive, I'm out.
Wait, where do you listen to podcasts?
Oh man, Google Podcasts. Honestly, because I'm an Android user. Nice. I only shell out good money on my computer, not on my phone.
I'm such an Apple slave, honestly. Yeah.
But I don't know, whatever. I could use Spotify, but I like having Spotify for music. You know what I mean? Like, I like that they're separate apps. I keep my music saved. I keep my podcast saved. I don't have to kind of like search through them when I'm in the middle of an episode or in the middle of an album or something. I kind of like the separation. But I'm a weirdo.
No, man, like we all have things that just make the day easier and more like, and that's so important. That's self-care. It's awesome.
Yeah. Totally. I feel like the audience can tell that I just got back into therapy for the first time in 15 years. It's been like 2 sessions in, and here we are.
Really? Wait, you just got back into therapy? Oh, yourself?
Personally,
like outside of this podcast?
Outside of this podcast, I went back to therapy. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I feel like it's coming up. I don't know. It's like, maybe it's just, I don't know.
No, this is
happenstance, but
I mean, it's all like, I think music is.
I think a lot of people are going through things these days also, like this like post-ish Corona thing where we've all been through a lot, and I don't know, trying to fortify ourselves in case whatever comes next. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like for me, I've had a lot of stress, so I'm trying to figure out how I can be a lot less stressed if I have another lockdown or if shit hits the fan again. You know what I mean?
What were you stressed about most in the lockdown?
Just not getting everything done. Like I think I have a lot of responsibilities. So for me, it's like I can't like give up on any of my responsibilities. I'm not gonna, not be a spouse, not be a father, not be, and also like my clients and the podcast and all these things. So I'm just like balancing all these things, and I'm just not letting go of things. So but I need to figure out where I can actually let go and how I can not be stressed if things don't go according to plan and stuff.
Yeah. Always comes back to surrendering.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's going to be such an experience. Like I would really love to have kids. Once I think my career is in a little bit more of a stable spot, right? I really love to have kids, and that's going to be such another level of like lessons of like, okay, yeah, just like you really, really wanting, I guess I have no idea what it feels like, but wanting to take care of another human being, but also just having to surrender. Yeah, that feels so beautiful. And that's amazing that's so cool. I think it's always wonderful for me, especially in LA, where I'm in LA, right? To meet men who they want to show up for their partner, right? They like, I hope what I'm saying is not like sexist, but like I meet a lot of men in LA who aren't like that, who don't have that. So it's just cool to meet another person who really wants to show up as a good father, a good partner, a great like producer. It's like cool.
Yeah, listen, we're all just doing our best in whatever capacity we can, and whatever realms we've deemed important for us. You know what I mean? And it's hard to wear a lot of hats, so it's sometimes something has to give, and you have to figure out what that is, and everybody's going to have different answers and different ways of doing it. You know what I mean? I probably have a bit too much perseverance. I don't know whatever the word, stubbornness. I don't know. I'll just keep at all the things until I'm completely burned down. So that's kind of my MO.
And I was actually listening to a podcast today. It's called "Tell Me Something True," and it had the guest on it was Rob Bell. I don't know if you've heard of him. He was actually talking about being a father and having kids, and like how do you go, like, how do you give yourself the time? How do you take off like what's unnecessary? Like, it's like, it was really cool listening to that. I'm just, so if I think that's something that might be interesting.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in the show notes.
Awesome.
For the listeners. They could go check it out also.
This is the therapy spirituality episode.
We're in. Amazing. Well, I'm glad that you're doing well, I guess, on the journey of, the 12 steps and, keeping yourself in that upward trajectory.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask you a little bit more about music.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Let's do it.
So are you producing other artists yourself, or are you mostly working on your own productions and with Rob and his productions?
No, I'm producing for other artists myself. Yeah. So,
amazing. Okay.
I'm in a couple sessions this week. And then I also do a lot of I'm doing some stuff. I'm doing some songwriting for some K-pop stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of get, whenever anybody asks me what I'm doing, I kind of blank because I'm like, oh, what am I doing? But yeah, I do produce for artists, a lot of mainly female artists. It's kind of what I'm trying to do is just really be supportive to female artists and their vision.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you find those artists to work with, or how do they find you? How do you make those connections?
Yeah, so some of them are actually Charlie. So Rob's son is a really great songwriter and manager in his own right. So sometimes, he loves finding new artists, and he'll kind of send them my way and be like, hey, are you interested in working with this person? And yeah, there's been he works with really talented people. So that's been super cool. And then recently I've kind of been in touch with this publishing company And I've kind of wanted to work with, their roster of artists. So they're putting me in session with a few different people. And so that's really nice because again, I was like, my mission I really feel is to